All right. Welcome to anybody watching. I passed a large number of the Microsoft Fundamentals exams. So I've passed MS-900, SC-900, AZ-900, um, both of the Dynamics ones, and I am um, right now studying for Power Platform. Um, Most of those exams I took last year. I am um, going to just quickly go over the learning path as quickly as I can. Hopefully, this is helpful for people. Hopefully, people join and I can answer any questions that you guys might have. Um, yeah, that's it. I'll go ahead and get started here. So right now we're going to focus on the MS-900. I think that's probably a good starting point for most people, unless you're someone who's specifically been working in Azure or specifically with Dynamics or um, Power Platform, one of those other kind of specialized fundamentals exams. Otherwise, I would start here. Um, this learning path is a really good um, starting point to just get a good overview of what to expect for the exam. There's also a few other really good uh, YouTubers who have covered MS-900. John Saville is one, and Andrew Brown. I think he's done MS-900. I know he does the Azure ones and security stuff, but I believe he's done MS-900 as well. So definitely watch those two. Um, I would recommend them probably over this video. But nonetheless, we'll go ahead and get started here. Um, so MS-900, and actually, I don't have a ton of time today, so let me actually do this. I'm going to start with the ending here. So describe Microsoft 365 pricing, licensing, and support. This one should be a little bit shorter. Again, since I am a little bit short on time today. So, just going through this here. Pricing models, billing management, space and add-on. This one looks pretty straightforward. Definitely know what CSP is. So CSPs are a specific type of partner. Um, the majority of customers with less than 500 seats are going to be with CSP partners as opposed to an EA. I didn't, from what I remember, I didn't get too much about the different types of agreements that you have, but definitely some good info to know here. Um, Billing account options, yeah, I don't remember getting too much about this either. Um, Definitely know the difference between consumption and fixed price, though. That's important. Um, Also, definitely a good idea to know where in the admin center or just in general that you're supposed to go to the admin center to manage those bills, make changes, etc. Um, Through this here. Subscriptions. I don't remember getting a lot of questions about like the home versus education um, government here, but obviously if it's in the learning path, definitely good to know that stuff. Um, Licenses, right? So again, I don't think I got any questions about the like step ups and everything, but just mainly knowing the difference between a full SKU versus add on. Um, because I took a different version of this exam, I'm hesitant to say that software assurance won't be on it. Um, but software assurance is kind of like a subscription on top of the base cost of the license that gives you additional features. So, for instance, with Windows Server, if I have software assurance, that gives me additional rights for virtualization, that sort of thing. And then a step up is, for instance, going from E3 to E5, moving midway through your renewal, or I should say midway through the term. Okay, and then the different types of add-ons here is a lot. Okay, so some knowledge check. Then the CSP model who provides your subscription, so provided by the partner. Which of the portals allows? Okay, so this is the admin center, and then under 300 employees is going to be business. There's a 300 user limit for the business options. If you are, um, let's say that you have 350 users. So what you can do is do 300 business premium and then 300 basic, uh, or I'm sorry, the additional 50 is basic. So you can get 300 of each SKU. You just can't get more than 300 of a given SKU on your tenant. Okay. Let's see. Awesome. All those are correct. So next part here, support offerings. So the different support offerings, SLA, how to track incidents, and how to provide feedback. I am not going to go through these interactive guides. You don't know already, obviously, these are public facing links, so you can go through these on your own. Right. So SLA, I always think of SLA in terms of Azure. So, for instance, if I have a computing resource that um, has an SLA of 99.9 percent, then that gives me a certain amount of uptime throughout the year. So I'm not sure of the exact amount, but let's say that that 99.9 correlates with only 30 minutes of downtime every year. So if Microsoft goes above that 30 minutes, then Microsoft owes me some sort of a credit or some sort of compensation dependent on the SLA that I have. Again, I took the previous version of the exam, but um, from what I remember, you don't need to know too much more in depth than that. Definitely know these vocabulary terms though: downtime, uptime, scheduled downtime. Um, the difference between downtime and scheduled downtime being that scheduled is obviously planned, pre-planned ahead of time. Um, Credit, service, uptime agreement, yeah. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so yeah, so it shows the exact percentages here, and then the credit that you'll receive if Microsoft does not meet their commitment. Cool. And I don't think you will need to know about like availability zones and everything with this exam. Okay, service health. You definitely need to know this. So going into the admin center to view the service health, that's definitely important. Email notifications, mobile app. Okay, let's get this. Okay. So, sharing feedback. I don't remember getting questions on this, but it looks like it's not super in depth either. If you're in Word and you select help, you can provide feedback there. Um, in general, the admin center, there's the need help at the bottom right, and right next to that, I believe, is the option for feedback. Move on here. What is fast track support? I don't remember getting any questions about that, but let's see. So onboarding cloud solutions, fast track. It's funny they call it fast track support, but it's specifically not support. It's remote onboarding assistance is the term that they use. So service level agreement, commitment to the service. It's not the claim. It's not the credit itself. The health status, admin center. Um, this is interesting. I'm going to guess it's the third one here, but I guess we'll see. Awesome. Okay, that was really quick. Um, minutes. Let's see how much of this one we can get through. Okay, 2 hours. Yeah. Might not make it all the way. This is a bit weird. Um, okay, it seems like it's still working, so I'll just keep going. Yeah, this is really weird. It isn't showing that I'm streaming, so hopefully this is actually getting recorded. Oh, okay. Turns out this stream is unlisted. Okay, public, done. Well, I guess that explains it. So, yeah, okay, there it is. That's annoying. Not sure why that was unlisted, but we will keep moving. So, what is Microsoft 365? Again, this will be really simple for you if you've already been working with Microsoft products. Um, yeah, the main thing to know is that it's the combination of the Office desktop apps that you think of when you hear Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Combination of those with the online services like email, um, Teams. I'm completely drawing a blank right now, but yeah, email, Teams. um, SharePoint, OneDrive, um, all that good stuff. Sometimes security, depending on the bundle that you have, but yeah, those are the main things there. And this just goes over the certification in general here. Okay, moving on. Right, so Exchange, if you see Exchange, just know that that's email. Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. And then Microsoft 365, which is at a higher level. I'll get into that in a sec. But Microsoft 365, which is at a higher level, um, includes uh, enterprise mobility and security, which includes Intune. So not just mobile device management, but the Windows 10 piece and security as well. So let me see. Okay, that's frustrating. It's not going to show the actual. What I want to here, just to quickly give an overview. So we see Microsoft 365 E3 and Microsoft 365 E5. These are at the top level. Um, but here, I'll just look at this instead. So it's a bit frustrating because we have, well, this isn't going to show the business stuff. Okay, hang on. Okay. So the really frustrating thing is that Microsoft 365 is all the term Microsoft 365 is also used to talk about these business level plans, which do not have Windows 10, and they well with the exception of the premium. But they don't have those same higher level enterprise features. So when it talks about comparing Office 365 and Microsoft 365, even though business basic, business standard, business premium, even though these are called Microsoft 365, they're really kind of treated like Office 365. To just know that Microsoft will make a distinction between Microsoft 365 and Office 365 as if there's a very clear line in the sand, that one is enterprise, one is top level enterprise and one is lower level. But you've also got to keep in mind that when you're talking to a customer in the real world about business basic, business standard, that these are called Microsoft 365, but not actually treated the same way as some other Microsoft 365 products. It's a bit confusing, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so yeah, so again, EMS is not included in Business Basic, for instance, even though Business Basic is called Microsoft 365 Business Basic. Okay, so Windows 365. Windows 365 was pretty well, not new, but relatively new when I took my exam, so I don't think it was really on there. But there's a little bit of um, information. The main two business and enterprise plans. Uh, you would think that business will give you lower RAM, lower features, and enterprise would give you more. But essentially, you can on business and on enterprise, you can customize the PC that you need, similar to how you would in Azure. There's customization for each level, so just keep that in mind. I think that the main differences it's not going to mention it here, but I believe that the main differences are going to be around security, group policy, um, the version, the features included in the version of Windows on your cloud PC. Okay. Um, see, that's a frustrating thing about these learning tasks that sometimes there's just a little bit of marketing stuff thrown in. But obviously know the difference between hybrid work versus flexible. I don't really think this was on my exam, but obviously that was um, last year. Employee experiences. Yeah, my guess is that you were gonna see a lot more Viva on your exam than the one that I had. Yammer has actually been renamed, um, but you might see the old name of Yammer instead of Viva Engage. Hey, I don't think I got any questions about the developer program, so that's a little bit weird. But I do recommend setting up an E5 test tenant. I've got one. I was a little bit nervous because there's something that when you're creating it, they say that you've got to, stay using it, keep it active to make sure that they, don't delete it. I've never had that happen. I haven't used mine in maybe a year, and they keep on auto renewing it. I do have a domain um, a domain that I've purchased added to it, a custom domain. So that may have something to do with it. One of the things when they're checking for spam tenants, fake tenants, is not having a custom domain. So that may have something to do with it. The fact that I've got mine may kept me safe, but um, yeah, I definitely recommend in general setting up one of those tenants. Admin center. Um, I didn't get a ton of portal questions on mine. It's kind of weird that they just say to explore it. Um, So if you don't have a test in it, I guess just watch a video of someone giving a tour of the admin centers. Okay. Work. Yeah, you definitely do want to know what a frontline worker is. I guess I may have skipped that part. Um, but yeah, a frontline worker, think, if you've got like someone coming over to your house to fix your internet, like that person's a frontline worker. Um, you know, a bank teller is also one that's pretty common. Nurses, so nurses will be in they'll often have like a shared workstation where they all, there's one computer shared across all of them, and they're not on email all day. They're working with patients. So, that's the analogy that Microsoft gives a lot is nurses with a shared central workstation for frontline workers. So in this case, I'm guessing that it's sales associated at a grocery store. Okay. Ooh, okay. We'll probably do one more, and then I've got to go. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, no questions. Um, okay, so describe productivity solutions of Microsoft 365. Well, no, that's what I was forgetting. So I guess in general, this is just going over the benefit of having your email services, teams, having all of your collaboration um, in the same ecosystem as all of your productivity apps. Looks like that's essentially what this is getting at, and all the different ways that those go together. So you think about a competitor like G Suite's, um, the uh, Microsoft value proposition is that you can use those, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can use those apps that you're already um, familiar with. It again with everything integrating well with all of your collaboration stuff. Okay, so this is just talking about the apps. I feel like I got a question about this. So you do have 5 devices that you can install that on. I think I got a question about that. But the rest of this is pretty straightforward here. The subscription based version where you always have the most up to date features as opposed to buying standalone Office 2019 and then you're stuck with the 2019 features. Um, even though you don't have to pay monthly. Right, just going over the basics of the different apps. I didn't know publisher was PC only. That's interesting. I don't think I got any questions on projects, planner. Bookings is useful, but again, I don't think I got any questions on it. I would say that again, this is a different version of the exam, so you should still review this page and kind of know what these are. Um, but my guess is that you won't get more than one question on each of these, and it'll be relatively straightforward, top level stuff. Definitely no forms though. I would anticipate that you're going to get a forms question. Forms is really important, not just in Microsoft 365, but across the suite. So definitely know what forms is. Lists. This is interesting. So it looks like they made a standalone app for SharePoint lists. I wasn't aware of that. It must be relatively new. But based on this, I'm assuming that this lists app integrates with SharePoint and it's SharePoint on the back end. Okay. Yeah, I know the basics about the rest of the suite here. I'm not going to go over these individually. Um, if it was me, I would spend a little bit more time on this page as opposed to the previous one. Um, but you should definitely still know this stuff too. Okay, so So my guess is that because this is saying research paper and creating a bibliography, that they're wanting you to say Word as opposed to OneNote. But um, that's the frustrating thing with a lot of these exams is that the questions are kind of ambiguous. Because it says most suitable, though, I'm going with Word. Okay, so obviously bookings. Um, so I guess actually they're trying to trick you here with planner. Planner is for planning, um, like planning internally. Um, Bookings is for customers or external people to book time with you. I'm guessing this is project. Okay, this is another weird question, but I think it's Outlook. Ah, okay, so it looks like that one was planner, but the rest were correct here. To be honest, in my personal experience working with customers and seeing what they need, um, project is a lot more popular than planner. But my guess is that this Kanban board part is supposed to tip you off to planner. So I guess just keep that in mind that if you see Kanban, it's more than likely planner as opposed to project. Cool. I'll do one more. Okay, so collaboration capabilities. So my guess is that this part it's going to be similar, where they're just asking which is the best way to which is the best way to communicate for a given situation. To me, it would have been better to do the same thing they did with the other one and just show product use case. um, but yeah, definitely make sure that you read through that previous page there. Skip this again. Meetings, Teams phone. Let's see. I don't think I got any questions about Teams phone specifically, but I know I did get questions about um, which is the best method to communicate for a given use case. And then different integrations into Teams. You definitely need to know this stuff, and also Viva's not on this list, but Viva as well. There's Teams integration with Viva. Actually, maybe it goes over that here. Connections, engage. Microsoft is making a really big push for Viva, so I would not be surprised if you got multiple questions on Viva across your exam. Or they may do one of those, um, you know, fill in the blank ones with a drop down menu, and you have to choose which Viva module to use. I Yeah, there's more than likely going to be that format of question. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. But definitely know what each of the ones do. Viva Connections is the most important. I would say that most exams are probably going to have a Viva Connections question, even if they don't um, have questions for each of the individual modules. So definitely know what those are. Uh, Viva Goals is relatively new. I think it's out of preview though now. Viva Learning, Viva Topics, right, and then Viva Sales. I'd be kind of surprised if you got a Viva Sales question, but can't hurt to know the basics of it. And Viva Sales, I don't know if the licensing for Viva is going to come up, but Viva Sales is not part of the Viva Suite uh, that you can buy. So keep that in mind. Separate purchase. Okay, so Yammer again. Yammer has been renamed to Viva Engage. It used to be that Viva Engage was just the team's, uh, you know, add-in application to view Yammer content. Um, they changed that, and so now Yammer has just been fully renamed to Viva. But yeah, keep in mind that you may see either one on the exam. Yeah, this is definitely good stuff to know as well. I would say that yeah, if you're gonna if there's only two questions on there about Viva, it's probably going to be Viva Engage and Viva Connection. So those are the two most important. Okay. Right. So this is scenario which one to go with. So this is important. People working in different locations, collaboration and teamwork, frequent and informal communication. So this tips me off that it's not going to be email, it's not going to be Outlook, going to be Teams. So which one is a centralized learning hub? Obviously, Viva Learning. I'd be surprised if you got a question that easy on your exam. Um, so your organization. So is it going to be OneDrive? Okay, so this announce it to your industry. Tell people speaking to this Q&A. So I'm not totally sure of the difference between live event and webinar. I think the difference is that a Teams live event, um, people are joining from Teams, and then a webinar that might be different. I'm not positive on that, but if this question is on the practice here, then definitely go back and make sure that you're aware of that difference. I'm gonna go with live event, but let's see. Okay, so live event. Cool. That's really, yeah, these are going pretty quick. Let's see if I can just finish this. Yeah, I think I can finish this. Okay. So Azure Virtual Desktop, yeah. So this looks like it's getting more into the compute stuff. I don't know why it keeps switching at the bottom there, but endpoint management. So Intune. Keep in mind though that Intune is specifically focused on mobile devices. There's also Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which I believe is built into Windows Server. I don't know if that's going to come up on this exam, but just in case it does, Intune is cloud slash mobile devices, desktop computers, but not servers. Yeah. Ah, here we go. Configuration management. Yeah, so on-premises management. Right, and I think this is actually it's co-management. I believe that's a new as of last year. I believe that's a new development with Windows Server. Analytics, autopilot. I think I did get an autopilot question on mine. Um, just making things easier so that um, end users have a very seamless experience when they're onboarding. Azure AD. My guess is that somewhere is going to go into more detail on Azure AD on this learning path. But definitely at least know this much about it. Manager. Let's see if there's any questions. Nope. Okay. Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop, right? So the main difference is going to be the level of control uh, that you have. So if you're someone who has very specific security requirements, if you're the type of organization that still has a lot of infrastructure on-prem for compliance reasons or something, security reasons, something like that, you're probably not going to want to go with Windows 365. You're probably going to want to go with Azure, which will be more complex to set up. You got way more control over what's being done, group policy. Um, you've got way more flexibility as far as compute. So uh, with Windows 365, it's focused on default, like out of the box solutions. But for instance, you might have a situation where you only need 8 gigs of RAM, but then you need like 2 terabytes of storage because your whatever you're doing is very storage intensive, or vice versa. You might need a ton of RAM, but not that much storage. And so one of the pre-built templates of Windows 365 might not work. You might be better off going with Azure. Azure is typically cheaper as well. There's also some things. I guess I probably shouldn't get too much into it, but there's some things you can do around. If you need a lot of compute done, but you don't care exactly when it's being done, you don't need it to be done live. You don't mind if it gets shut off for an hour and then turned back on. There's some um, savings you can do, reserved instances, that sort of thing to bring down the cost in Azure. So, um, a trade off between making it things easy to use, very, very simple, versus, needing someone with Azure expertise to deploy all of this. All right. So, Windows as a service, again, having everything built bundled into a subscription like M365 E5, as opposed to having everything purchased separately. Definitely know the channels. So definitely know what long-term servicing channel is, general availability. Those are really important. Um, Essentially, changing how often updates are being rolled out for organizations that don't necessarily need the newest updates. Their main focus is stability, as opposed to getting the latest features as soon as they're available. You've got to keep in mind though that um, you know if you are an organization that's not installing updates, there are some security risks there. Right? And then the different deployment rings again. If I have certain devices that are very, very important to make sure that they never go offline, they never have a bug, they, you know, as much uptime as possible. then I might not want to install those updates right away. Versus if I have my test devices that I'm testing out for my organization, those I'm going to want the latest updates to make sure nothing there's no problem with my configuration. Okay, deployment methods. Again, yeah, definitely no autopilot. In place upgrade. Yeah, I won't read through these, but this part right here. You definitely need to know subscription activation, Azure AD. Definitely know this part as well. This not as much. Again, based on my version of the exam that I took, um, but if it's in the learning path, in general, at least be aware of it. Okay. Keeps on switching to these stupid videos. All right. So again, just more deployment methods. Definitely know what the Office deployment tool is. That's really, really important. Um, I don't think you have to know too much about like content delivery networks. Um, for like the Azure exam, you definitely will want to know that. But for this exam, again, from what I remember, um, that wasn't super important. Okay. Update channels, you definitely want to know this stuff here as well. Right. And then my guess is that it's going to talk about how often you have to be connected here. I guess not. But I believe it's every 30 days you have to connect to the internet. Otherwise, Microsoft is going to, prevent you from using that software until you connect again. So keep that in mind that when you're on a subscription based plan, you do need to, you don't have to be connected to the internet 100% of the time, but you do need to collect regularly enough for Microsoft to check that your subscription is still active. And the frustrating thing is that, like, let's say I have a year long subscription and I check, I connect to the internet to check it at the beginning of the year. You would think that Microsoft would say, hey, it's an annual subscription. I know that you're good for, 364 days from now. That's not the case. You have to connect regularly. Like I said, I believe it's every 30 days. I don't think that they'll completely kick you out after 30 days. I think that there's a little bit of a grace period there, but um, in general, I think it's 30 days, and then you'll start getting prompts. Okay, so which of the following servers? So this is going to be configure cloud based. So this tips me off that it's so this is a little bit weird. I believe it's going to be desktop as a service. I believe with Windows as a service, they're looking for like Windows. Um, no, I think that's actually what they're looking for. I'm not certain that there's. I think desktop as a service is there to trick you. I could be wrong on this one though. Again, that wasn't Windows as a service is not on my exam. Hmm, this is weird. No, I think that's desktop as a service. I'm gonna go with desktop on that one, and then for this one, um, Windows with regular feature updates on a predictable release schedule and frequent feature updates. So that's going to be the monthly enterprise channel. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So I guess the difference between desktop as a service and Windows as a service is that desktop as a service is referring to cloud computing, and then Windows as a service is referring to Windows 10, for instance, built into your subscription. or I guess in this case, Windows 11. Well, they give you the option. Okay. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right. Last one here. Okay, so mostly looking at Viva, it looks like, and some reporting stuff. So Viva Insights, um, this was previously called My Analytics. So just keep that in mind that if a customer asks you about like My Analytics or like the emails that they used to get, that's now rolled into Viva Insights. So when you see these personal insights, personal well-being, it's probably going to say something like, yeah, protect time. So like after hours meetings, that sort of thing. Okay. And then when they did the rebranding from the individual My Analytics, adding everything to Viva, there's stuff at the team level and at the org level, similar insights at the team and org level. And yeah, this manager connection is one of the main, um, both of these, the manager connection and the meeting effectiveness. Those are the main things that are obviously at the uh, organizational level, at the higher level that an individual employee wouldn't see through their Viva portal. Admin Center. This is again like if you've already been um, in the Microsoft ecosystem, this part right here is going to be pretty familiar. The user portal, porting. Um, so I don't think I got anything about adoption score, but you definitely want to know what secure score and compliance score are. It's like maybe those aren't on this. Okay, here we go. Yeah, security. Well, no, let's just talk about this separate admin centers. It looks like so. What hasn't been mentioned yet, but definitely know about like secure score, compliance score. It's going to be similar to the adoption score that we saw at the top here, but obviously focused on how secure is your organization, how many of the recommended policies have you implemented or said that, hey, we've got another solution for them. You can basically like whitelist it and say that we've got something else that does this for us. So what is Viva Insights? This one. Areas. I am not sure on this one. I'm going to guess it's the second one. I'm going to guess it's teamwork habits based on that meetings thing we saw earlier, but I'm really not sure for this one. Again, not much Viva on my version of the exam last year. Um, so my guess is that this is kind of a trick question. Um, they're You're going to think that, oh, security score, I know that that exists, but because they say in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, this is kind of stupid. Um, this you would think that, oh, the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, that's a catch-all term for all admin centers, but my guess is that they're trying to get this answer, um, because the secure score would be in the security center, which is, for the purposes of this question, apparently not in the admin center. Just know that, and when people talk about it, they say the admin center to mean everything. Semantics. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, so security. All right, cool. Well, that's it for me for today. Um, at some point, I definitely want to go over the rest of these, or honestly, I was thinking about putting together like an overview of like which topics to focus on. Um, if people end up watching this, let me know if this was helpful and like what you guys think would also be helpful um, to include there. I was hoping that people would join and that they'd be able to like ask questions about the each page that we were going over. Um, but obviously, I didn't like schedule this ahead of time or anything. So um, yeah, let me know what you guys would like to see or any feedback you have. Thanks, everybody.